Good morning, good morning. I hope everyone is excited to start the week. Good morning, Samantha. Good morning, Gabriella.
Good morning.
Good morning. Perfect. Good morning, Whitney and Cameron. Let me make sure you guys are unmuted. Perfect. We're just waiting for Harry and Satar to sign on. Let's see, Satar, is he in? Let's see. Kelly. Hello, Devin. How are you?
Doing well. Good morning. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Hello, Satar. How are you? Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Perfect. Are we all here? We're all here. Great.
Morning. Do you see me there? I don't see. Oh, there I am. Okay.
You see us? Okay, perfect. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Doctors on Lean's third webinar. My name is Riley Stitt. And so we're just going to go ahead and get started. Just so you guys know, like everyone else, we are respecting the shelter-in-place order. And since we've had to restructure some aspects of our company to accommodate the changes due to COVID-19, we reached out to other companies that also serve the legal community to see if they wanted to let you know what they were doing at this time. And we also want to remind you that we are all open for business. So let's go ahead and introduce our guests. Our first guest is Samantha Parker, the founder and CEO of Doctors on Leans. Doctors on Leans was started 27 years ago and now represents over 300 doctors. Welcome, Samantha.
Thank you.
Our next guests are Whitney Kumar and Cameron Villegas, twin sisters. Cameron and Whitney are co-owners of KW Court Reporting, which covers everything from depositions to trials. They are also leaders in helping attorneys transition to working remotely and utilizing technology in the legal world. Welcome, Whitney and Cameron.
Hi. Hi.
Our next guest is Satar Mir. Satar is an owner of Mir Capital Holding, with investments both in outside and the medical field. Today, his current role is CEO for Expert MRI, which has grown to become the largest network of diagnostic imaging centers in Southern California, specializing in injury diagnostics. Welcome, Satar.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Our next guest is Harry Kazakian, founder and CEO of USA Express, a legal support and investigations firm with offices in San Francisco, Woodland Hills, and in San Diego. For over 20 years, they provided personal injury investigations involving witness interviews, accident site inspections, and wrongful death investigations. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Our next guest is Kelly Deutsch. Kelly is an executive producer and co-owner of Verdict Videos, which produces day-in-the-life videos for mediation and trial. These videos have become a critical tool to demonstrate how the plaintiff's life has changed as a result of their permanent injury. Welcome, Kelly.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning. Our next guest is Devin Nicoley. Devin is one of 4 founding partners of Pledge Medical and has over 15 years of experience in the medical field, focused in the areas of business, development, operations, and finance. Welcome, Devin.
Monday. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, that's right. And our last guest is Gabriella Cabero, co-founder and CEO of CasePeer, a cloud-based case management software for personal injury law. It is designed for law firms who want to encourage accountability, empower staff, and make data-driven decisions. Welcome, Gabriella.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Riley.
Great. So now that everyone is introduced, we have a number of questions. Please feel free to send any in the chat or the Q&A, and we will try to get to as many as we can. So let's go ahead and get started. Kelly, we are going to start with you. Not a lot of people know what a day-in-the-life video is. Could you explain it, particularly as it relates to effectiveness at trials?
Well, our day-in-the-life videos for mediation and trial, they look exactly like you're watching 60 Minutes or 2020. Imagine your case unfolding with narration and photos and expert witnesses and emotional distress witnesses and daily activities video. Really puts in perspective for the defense and for the adjuster exactly what your case is like, and it's perfect for mediation, but it's hard to imagine that. So I encourage everyone, send me a case that you have, any case, any kind of case, send it to, tell me what it is, and I will email you an exemplar very similar to your case along with the pricing. My email address is kelly@verdictvideos.com. That's Kelly @verdictvideos with an S.com. And I will send you a sample video with the pricing.
Kelly, if I may, I could just reiterate that from my adjusting years, visuals are everything. It's it's worth $1 million just by adjusters seeing the video. All of a sudden, the case value just skyrockets, and that's very, very compelling evidence.
And
It's a
Kelly,
it's a hard thing to explain. So if I can show people what it is that we can do for them, it's more valuable than words, right?
yeah, and Kelly, you mentioned mediation and trial, but are you seeing law firms using these also during the settlement process, like before it even gets that far?
Oh yeah, a lot of pre-litigation videos. That seems to be the thing these days.
Yeah. Okay.
Amazing. Kelly, I just want to ask you another question. How is Verdict Videos videotaping plaintiffs during the stay-at-home order? And how are attorneys able to receive that footage?
Yeah, we have implemented some very specific procedures, very totally specific to COVID-19. Keeping everybody safe is our priority. We are no longer clipping microphones on people. We are using boom mics. We are using very, very specific procedures. We're also doing a lot of expert witness interviews via Zoom. We have a special device that we are recording onto, so we're not using the Zoom technology, which isn't great. So, and then everything always gets delivered via email. We have a special service that we deliver all the videos to. And those, I also have a streaming service so that the mediator can watch those videos remotely during mediation. And we have done several mediations recently where our videos have been played that way.
Great, great. Let's move over to expert MRI. Satar, how is COVID-19, how has that affected your operations? And what steps have been done to assist with this?
Sure. Obviously the COVID-19 just came overnight for a lot of us, most of us. And we had to get really quickly prepared for that. The first concern is always protecting our staff and getting them the right gear, getting the right supplies in, as well as portraying that over to our patients. It all starts with making sure we've gotten the right supplies in, but also taking the right measures to follow CDC guidelines. As things were changing, we took into our own hands about actions that we thought were appropriate. Some of those has been by adding thermometers, by pre-screening patients, and that starts off by pre-screening not just themselves, if they have any relatives or anybody they've been interacting with that could possibly have any symptoms. So if they do, we simply ask them, just take 14 to 15 days and we'll call you back or call us back to reschedule. But beside that, we've taken all the right steps by stopping any potentials of COVID occurring at any of our sites. The next step that we took was really focusing on capturing the screening also at the sites the right way. Those took by having a staff member that stands outside, takes the temperature of the patient prior to getting in, as well as making sure all of our patients have gone digital, filling out all their forms digitally so we're not having them spend too much time at our facilities, as well as giving every one of our patients masks, gloves, every time they come in. We've also mandated that our staff do wash their hands after every patient, do scrub down everything every time a patient comes and utilizes any of the MRI equipment, as well as making sure our staff changes into different gowns every patient. It's been very effective, and we've had a lot of patients actually reach out and say, thank you for taking these measures. Thank you for providing us gloves and masks and being here for us. So it's been very interactive, and we've also taken the measures of interacting with our local community. We've with Dr. Unlean's help, with Pledge Medical's help, we've updated all of our CDC guidelines. So constantly we're making sure we're up to date of giving the most effective care as we can.
Amazing. Did anyone else want to add to that? You know how, yeah.
With Doctors on Leans, very similar to what Satara was saying, we did the same thing. Our doctors, they either have, some of them have these blue, ultra blue lights that in between patients, they just, they flip a switch and within, I don't remember how long it is, but it totally knocks out any germs in the rooms. They also are staggering patients. They're extending office hours. They're doing temperature checks. They're doing everything that they can do to keep the patient safe. Everyone wears a mask. Everyone wears a glove. The whole deal. And they've all remained opened, which was wonderful. The greatest gift to us was that we were considered essential. So we had very similar. Now, I think Devin, for you as well.
I was curious, Sitar, have you guys run into any supply issues or with any of the PPE products?
You know, thankfully enough, we acted in time, and we were one of the first ones to put in massive orders to make sure our staff is protected. You know, obviously, we're also a hospital provider, so we wanted to make sure those patients that do come to the hospitals, also our staff, are safe from. So we made sure everybody has N95 masks. We've taken also the measures of giving everybody washable masks as well, so you can reuse them as they need. So, you know, we haven't ran into any issues. We've actually have opened up our dialogue to say if anybody out there also needs any connections with gaining any supplies, we're here to help. Reach out to myself, reach out to my team members. We're more than willing to help.
That's great.
I love the idea that you mentioned too, Sitar, about, and we're leveraging it at Pledge Medical as well, is getting the patients to sign out some of the forms prior to ever walking through the doors. And so there's a lot of options like DocuSign, like HelloSign, that, you know, in fact, it was a lot of the patients prefer it because they're being able to knock that stuff out, and which minimizes the downtime, the wait time in the lobbies or whatever that might be. So I think just overall from a patient experience, when I hear you say that, it resonates because we did the same. It's been really effective.
And can I ask Devin and Sitar, those things that you guys can imagine you'll keep even once some of this lets up, like the hello sign? And
we're absolutely planning on it. You know, we don't know what the future holds, so we want to make sure we're prepared for it, and you know, all patients and staff are also protected from it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that this is going to force our partners to close in around. I think a lot of it will be here for the long haul, and it'll be for the better, because you know, something will happen again, whether it's COVID, you know, jumping back up in fall or whatever it might be. I think these are all very safe and wise, you know, changes that we're all being forced to make.
Yeah, and it improves the patient experience for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I may, they're always talking about the second wave of COVID coming in, so it's always a good idea to be ready. And so last time you were caught without being ready, didn't know exactly what to do and so on. At least this time you guys, especially the ones that are in medical field, could be ready for that second wave.
Absolutely. And you know, we're coming to a wave of technology. I think that's where it's come to, making sure that we get the information, not just by forms, but also our pre-screening processes. You know, we've done demonstration videos of the steps that our staff is taking, from checking in to, you know, processing patients, to even the post of how did we get their reports, how would they get their CDs and their images without having to come back to our sites. You know, everything's been now taken to a platform online for us in a portal format. So I think that's really the future we're facing for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Harry, I would love to move over to USA Legal. How are you able to continue serving your clients as usual, especially over the phone support involving e-filing of documents, etc.?
Well, thank you for that question. Basically, so it couldn't be better time when Los Angeles County went e-file finally after so many decades. So what we did, basically, we split our staff 80-20, 80 working remotely, and basically they connect to the office desktop to maintain the same security level, integrity. And we have 2 shifts available, a morning shift and evening shift. So if our clients trying to file documents, they can always call our toll-free number as usual, which is 877-872-3977. If you be connected to the filing clerk, if it's 7 in the morning or 11:59 p.m. was the cutoff time to file with court. They'll be able to connect to our basically filing clerks if they need our assistance to file their documents, or if they have any questions about something they filed. So that remains as usual, and we provide the service basically for all California courts or nationwide courts that they are equipped with e-filing. Now, with regards to which was more challenging is actual walk-in filings, because courts changed their protocols. Where before we were able to walk in and file the documents, well, now courts implemented that they are not allowing public to walk in the courthouse to file documents. So they have a box outside the court or in the lobby of the court. So what we do is basically we will walk in there and drop the documents in that basket, and courts go, they file those documents on a timely fashion. The only couple of steps what courts have taken to assure the filings gets the right credit is, this is just came in, I want to read out of these, they have implemented payment submittal notice. So then if attorneys, law offices want to file documents, they have to include a payment submittal notice along with prepaid self-addressed envelope so they can get their filed documents back. Now, the only cases are actual walk-ins in LA County are complex cases, family law and small claims. Those needs to be walked in and dropped in that box for LA Central, Chatsworth, for the most Los Angeles County courts. Now, those courts do file those on a timely fashion and mail the confirmed copies back to the client. But what we do is when we drop in the box, just in case if there's a question, we take a picture of the documents in the box just to show we were there, we dropped that off just in case it is misplaced. At least we have a proof those documents were in their baskets. That's one thing. Now, as far as rest of the courts, Los Angeles, they're getting, they're processing fairly quickly with all the drop filings. Filings requiring judge's signature takes longer. Ex partes are being heard at Stanley Mosky Department 1. And as far as restraining orders and criminal cases are being heard as usual. Now, Orange County is probably one of the best courts so far. All e-filing, no delays. Hearing dates, they've been postponed because of COVID-19. Ventura County shut down. They are not filing any documents until this directives lift off and courts are open. Riverside County accepting e-filing, they're not processing them until end of May. So if Riverside accepted an e-filing, they are not processing until end of May. So it could take sometime in June for them to get their confirmed copies. As far as San Bernardino, they're accepting drop filing. They have a skeleton crew, and it could take a couple of weeks to process it. As far as San Francisco, it's all e-filing as usual. Sacramento, not filing any documents until further notice. Now, these are all the filing. With regards to process serving, we just implemented a new policy that we wear masks and gloves and have the documents in a see-through plastic, knock on the door, walk back about 10, 15 feet. When we get an answer, we let them know why we are there for, explain the nature of the documents and what they need to do to protect their interest, and we lay the documents on the ground, and then we walk away. And that's been working out just fine.
Do you take a picture? Do you take a picture that you see them? Because you can easily say they didn't answer the door. They can say something like that.
Oh, absolutely. Our programs on our cell phones, every process server is equipped with, where they take a picture. It has longitude and latitude of the address, as well as that shows that we were there, as well as whoever comes out of the house or a business place, they get captured. As once opens the door or gets out, there's no expectation of privacy. It's totally legal. And we take the documents, we take pictures of the documents, and then we walk away. And it's been working out okay so far. And they have to understand we don't have to be on their face knocking on the door a couple of feet away when they open those doors. Besides, you always got to be careful that Rottweiler charging out when they open the door.
I'm sure that's nothing new for you guys.
Yeah, we've had a lot of those.
Eric, are you putting out the information on a daily basis or weekly basis? How are you getting the information of what you just said across everybody?
Every other day, maybe a couple of times a week, we send constant contact, basically explaining all new procedures that courts are implementing, as well as anything new closures or changes in the court system. It goes out with our constant contact, mass emailing to all of our clients.
Very cool.
And Devin, I would love to move over to you over at Pledge Medical. I know you touched briefly on some of the adjustments you've had to make, getting patients to sign in and out, etc. But could you elaborate more on the adjustments that Pledge is making during this crisis?
Yeah, of course. Very similar to what Sitar said. We're following CDC guidelines. One of the first things that we jumped on pretty quickly was the virtual consultation. So we push that very heavily. We make sure that all of our existing attorneys, as well as all of our patients, everyone knows that that's an option. And surprisingly, we've had a massive uptick in the amount of virtual consults that we're doing. It's working really well, and it's been very efficient. While we're doing the virtual consultations, we have the ability to share certain documents so that some of the patients that are coming through the door have a lot of those documents already virtually signed and prepared for their appointments. Obviously, we're going through all the pre-screening of patients, you know, when they show up at the office, from running their temperatures, even prior to that, just asking various questions about their health. Social distancing in the office. Our lobby looks pretty funny, even though we're not allowing people to sit in the lobby. There's still, all of our chairs are all 6 feet apart. But most of the time, we're asking our patients, if they bring anyone, they've got to wait in the vehicle in the parking lot. And, you know, a lot of times we'll give them Starbucks cards or whatever it might be to, you know, to go walk down the street and get coffee while their family members are being seen by the doctors. We've doubled up on our terminal cleaning in all of our offices and our surgery centers throughout our various market locations. And we're even considering doing COVID testing now as well, whether it's the antibody or active COVID, prior to people actually getting put into the surgery center. Our Newport Beach, our Orange County office is really close to Hoag Hospital. Their chief of staff just put out an email that they're going to start doing active swab testing of all elective procedures 72 hours prior. So we're exploring all the above from that angle. I think more important, or not more important, as important with our business is this is forcing us to really evaluate our operations and our systems, our processes, our protocols, and we've been very strategically focused on how to improve our service offerings, how to leverage some of this downtime, I'll call it, to really improve our service offerings to our clients, improve on the patient experience with the patients that are coming through all of our various offices. We developed a custom software. We've been working on it for the past 14 months, and we've been able to really focus on integrating that into our processes. And so coming out of that, probably mid to late May, we'll start extending that out to all of our customers. And so it's very easy for attorneys, case managers, chiros, if they have referrals, to send us cases through our portal, to access reports, to automate appointment reminders, to alert the case managers if patients are showing up or if they've no-showed for their appointments, and automate a lot of text and email communication, to try, again, all focused on trying to streamline the treatment cycle and try to help attorneys get through that, and their patients to get through that process much more quickly. And so we're very excited about all that, the virtual consults and the DocuSign, that's all built into that system. So that's kind of been where our focus has been, the obvious COVID stuff, which everyone's heard 1,000 times about already, and then really focusing on our operations to try to improve upon our service based on feedback.
I want to touch briefly on this. I know you talked about the 72-hour swab testing for elective surgeries. So what else has changed now that restrictions have been lifted on elective surgeries outside of that for you guys?
For us, we've been continuing to perform the essential surgeries for our clients, for our patients. As everyone on this webinar is probably aware, the last thing you want to do is have a gap of treatment. And so we've been, we have various offices. We're in Orange County. We have clinics and surgery centers in Orange County and Inland Empire, in LA, Bakersfield, and we just launched Las Vegas as well. So we've been performing procedures. We've been more rigorous about the essential, aspect of those cases. And so now that a lot of these orders are being lifted, we'll start performing a lot more epidurals, which has been the one procedure that we've slowed down on because there's certain health related issues where it decreases your immune system. And so we've been a little cautious in navigating epidurals, but now that those have been lifted, we're putting the patients through a little bit more of a rigorous pre-screening process, and then we will proceed with those epidurals. And so for Pledge Medical, I think it's just more around the process. If we do begin to integrate the COVID testing, we don't want to do it just to check that box, but if it truly does add value to the patient safety and to that process, we'll go down that path. But we're excited to get back up to full steam with epidurals and all the other fun stuff for the patients and the attorneys alike.
Great.
Can I ask a follow-up for the epidurals? Would patients expect to have a little bit more downtime after an epidural than they would usually, just because of the concerns for their immune system?
Yeah, I'm not a doctor. The doctors stick me in the box to do the marketing and the numbers, but I don't believe so. I'd be happy to follow up with you.
Yeah, just curious. We're getting those questions, just out and about all the time. So
yeah, it's the same procedure. It's the same process the doctors are using. So no,
Perfect.
I wouldn't say it would have any difference in terms of the recovery time.
Okay.
I also have a quick question for Devin and Satar with regards to DocuSign.
Okay.
We do intake when we meet with these potential clients for law offices and have them sign the authorization with their real signature. We've come to face an issue when we prepare an authorization to request records via subpoena or medical authorization. We've been told by the facilities, as DocuSign, you choose a signature and you agree to have that signature on the document, whereas when they sign the authorization with their own signature, it doesn't match. So we've faced issues with regards to from the medical facility saying the authorization you submitted, the signature on that authorization does not match with the signature in their record, so therefore they decline providing us the records. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, from our standpoint, we have certain, I would say, more routine documents when it comes to the initial paperwork that a patient would sign before coming into our office. Some of the general H&Ps documents that just help to guide our staff on the expectations of that patient when they come in the office. We do require wet signatures on certain documents, and we engage the attorney to make sure that we're clear on which signatures they're comfortable, via electronic digital versus a wet signature in the office. It's a great point you bring up, Harry, and there are definitely some cautionary steps to take on digital versus wet signatures.
Harry, the other thing that I've seen is that I think DocuSign actually has a functionality where you can turn off or opt out of the sort of type-in name where it sort of writes it out in a pretty font. And actually you can force the person to sign with their fingers. So even though it still doesn't necessarily match what they would have done with a pen, it does get you closer. And that's something to consider too if you are using DocuSign to turn on that option.
One of the things that we've also adapted, guys, is we're asking the patient to also sign under ID and try to match that signature as close as they can to their ID signature. So both documents are always signed, hoping that, they see the ID there and it gives them the satisfaction they need.
That's smart.
Okay.
Cameron and Whitney, this question is for you. How are you handling remote depots at this time?
You know what? Cameron and I, before this lockdown, were actually preparing and gearing up for remote depositions or cloud-based reporting, we call it, because it was not only going to help with the court reporter shortage that's been going on, but also help law firms work remotely and not waste so much time traveling all over Southern California to take depots. It's incredibly time consuming. And I know a lot of attorneys are nervous to do this new way of things, but it really is incredibly easy. A lot of our clients who are now doing remote depots are saying, I may never go back to driving around everywhere in traffic doing these depositions. You know, all you need is a device with a webcam, like a computer, an iPad, a tablet, a cell phone. If you want it recorded, we're still using professional videographers, but now they're recording remotely. And the reporter used to have to be present with the witness to swear them in, but now they don't have to, so they're able to swear the witness in remotely as well. And then exhibits. Everyone always wants to know, well, how do we handle exhibits now? And there's actually several different ways that you can handle them. And one is sharing your screen via Zoom. One is using the chat feature in Zoom and putting a link to download the exhibits. Another way is using your videographer. If it's a video depo, they can act like a host and you can cue them and say, you know, put up exhibit 1 for everyone, take it down. And so a lot of our clients are liking that, so they don't have to deal with the exhibits at all. And then lastly, you can use an electronic exhibit software, and it's something that we offer to our clients. It's a really, really neat tool to help you organize exhibits. You can make notes. And then the day of the depo, everyone can log in and follow along, and you can mark exhibits in real time. You can give it to the witness to annotate. And then at the end of the depo, everyone gets a link to download all the marked exhibits, including the agency, the reporter. So no more mailing exhibits, no more carrying around big boxes of paperwork and binders. So, you know, it's a really good thing for the industry. I mean, I know it's kind of scary for people, but it is, you know, making the legal industry get with the times. And so, you know, oh yeah, go ahead, Kelly, you have a question?
Yeah, what do you guys do if the deponent doesn't have a computer with a webcam or isn't technologically savvy to make that happen?
Okay, well, this actually comes up quite a bit. And what we've been doing is if a deponent doesn't have any of the necessary equipment, we've been sending them a tablet or a laptop straight to their house. And we send it with a stamped return envelope. So the next day they can just ship it right back to our office. And then if they're not tech savvy enough, what we've been doing is we've been sending actually a technician to their homes, and they come and they sanitize it. They use social distancing and they wear a mask and gloves the whole time. And they set up the equipment for the person. And then after the depo's over, they come back and they take everything away, sanitize, and leave. So there's really, if you don't have this equipment, there's really no reason to not continue with your depositions.
We've been doing the same thing with emotional damage witnesses, you know, people, family members who need to talk about the person who's been permanently injured, but they don't have the equipment. So we're also sending hotspot devices, so it generates the Wi-Fi. We send a laptop with the link right there on the desktop. All they do is click, and then everything just, it's magic. Yeah. So yeah, I was wondering if you guys were doing the same thing as well. It's very smart.
It comes up a lot. Yeah, it comes up every week. We've had to have this come up.
Yeah, right.
I do want to move over to CasePeer. Gabriella, we know CasePeer has helped thousands of attorneys and staff transition seamlessly to remote work. So could you tell us a little bit about that process? What do you see as the biggest hurdle for law firms working remotely during this time?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, one of the things at CasePeer that differentiates us is that we offer free client support. So that's just included. There's no additional charge. So it's actually made it very easy over the last few months as law firms have wanted to transition remotely. They've been reaching out to our client success team with questions. How do I use this report now? And how do I make sure that someone's not watching TV while they're answering calls? And of course, there's, you know, the technical aspect. We're happy to help and provide us advice there as much as we can as well. You know, in terms of resources, we've been writing a series of blogs, walking people through it. And then, you know, one of the biggest hurdles though that I do see is exactly why I alluded to is, are people working when they're at home, and what are they doing? And, you know, the interesting thing, and I've had this feedback from a couple firms that we work with, is that they've said actually their staff is actually even more motivated than before to add notes to cases, to make sure that what they're doing is actually being logged in the system, because this is the only way that that people will know that they're doing work, right? It's not enough to just be sitting in the office and picking up the phone every once in a while. You've actually got to be in there logging what you're doing. And then, of course, the administrators can see what that is and get a big picture of what's been done.
So would you say that should people change softwares now or wait for things to go back to normal?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think it really depends on the firm. Some firms, it's absolutely the right time. As many of us have mentioned here, we don't know what's going to come in the fall. Is COVID going to be back? Is there going to be another thing going around? I think just the future of all businesses today, all of us here, and certainly for law firms watching or that we're talking to, business has changed, right? We all have to be prepared to have people working remotely, and being prepared for that is, now's a good time. If you have some downtime, start doing your research. If you don't want to make that change now, you certainly don't have to, but I certainly wouldn't put it off, because we don't know what's going to come in the fall, or even as we start to open up for business again.
Yeah.
In a more traditional way, I should say. We're all open for business now.
Gabrielle, I have to agree with you. Even looking at my own staff, we've transitioned anybody that's not an essential staff member to work from home. My team's productivity is, much better. And, that brings the question, how do we all going to face the future of this? Are we going to allow the staff to continue working at home or not? And those are a lot of questions that I get on, conference calls with my staff. I personally feel like as long as the work's being done, whoever feels safe, should take that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
In the chat about that as well, I do want to get to at the end, because I think that's a great addition, Sitar, because, how are we going to adjust? I do want to ask you, Sitar, obviously people are doing whatever they can for the community at this time. How has Expert MRI contributed to this effort?
Well, we've always been very much about education and technology. When the COVID strike occurred, everybody knew that, the first step that a lot of practitioners take is an X-ray. With our capabilities, having the MRI, having the CAT scan, I got my radiologist together. I said, guys, we got to come up with a protocol that could help the post effect of this. There's been a lot of things to diagnose it, but what happens the after effect of this? And that's what we've done. We've actually created CAT scan protocols that are going to measure the damage that COVID has done to certain individuals' lungs, their capacity, their future of health. And not just that, we're also opening that up to all of our community individuals who are serving our community. We're opening it up to the local police stations, local fire stations, local hospitals, anybody that needs those types of scans. We will do those as pro bono for them, just to make sure they get the right services and the right care. And the most incredible thing about this is we've actually had a lot of people reach out to us requesting to see if they could get qualified for this program. It's so new that we're working on it every day, but I feel like that's the biggest accomplishment we could have achieved, giving back with what we have already.
Great. Cameron and Whitney, what do you do if a client has a witness that doesn't have the technology to be able to participate in a remote depot, or is not technologically savvy enough to set it up?
Well, that was Kelly's question to us, which we said we send tablets or laptops to their homes, or a technician to set everything up. So we kind of already went over that with Kelly.
Great. Let's move on here then. Harry, how has COVID hindered your capabilities to serve documents or conduct meaningful field investigations?
Sure. Basically, filing for serving documents, as I previously discussed, it's basically, we knock on the door, walk back, our servers wear their gloves, masks. We insert it in a clear plastic basket, bag, and basically place it on the ground. And I talked about the Rottweilers. It's always a good idea to walk back maybe 10 feet and be very respectful for the persons that they're being served. Usually works great, ma'am, sir, and so you don't want to antagonize or or come across very aggressive. And so we even get sometimes thank yous after we leave. So that part of it, since we're out there, we have to exercise all cautions, masks, gloves, and same thing goes on for our investigations. When we're out there canvassing the area for security cameras or looking for witnesses, conducting accident site inspection, our investigators are wearing masks and gloves in case they have to make contact with area businesses or residents to find out if maybe they saw the accident or maybe they have a security camera that may have captured the accident. Now, with regards to interviewing witnesses, primarily, for the most part, all of our witnesses are being interviewed over the telephone, recorded with Q&A transcription format, so that's been great. It is always a good idea to try to interview witnesses right from the beginning, only because witnesses move, change phone numbers, or they disappear, or they lose interest to talk to anyone if it's not done in the first few, perhaps 2-3 weeks. So I highly recommend that. I remember from my adjusting years as an insurance claims adjuster, we always interviewed good and bad witnesses, favorable, unfavorable witnesses, and using to find holes in plaintiffs' cases when we start settlement discussions. So I recommend those witnesses to be interviewed before the law firms, before they start talking to the insurance adjusters. A lot of them do not want to be interviewed twice. So sometimes once they provide their first interview, they don't want to talk to insurance adjusters for the second time. I've seen that happen. I also recommend getting those security cameras checked out there, because for the most part, security cameras get recycled after the first 3 weeks. So if there was a good video capturing the accident that gets lost forever, that could be monumental. I also recommend talking to the defendants before they talk to their insurance carrier and get those interviews completed, especially when there's a liability dispute or course and scope. That could be monumental for the plaintiff's case. So I recommend get those done. Also, for the most part, I think it's always a good idea. I think I did send out a link to our website to a personal injury checklist, investigations checklist. It looks something like this. And so it could, really help if law firms get a case. They could just go through the list and find out if any of those, suggestions might help with their cases. So.
Great. We do have, yes, go ahead.
We've implemented all these new ideas and everything. How many of these do you think you're going to keep after we're able to go back and the shelter-in-place order is lifted? I know for us, our doctors, a lot of them are going to keep some of the telemedicine for some of the patients that are injured, and we're cutting out our people that not show up. We had a lot of no-shows, so we can do telemedicine. I'm just curious with the rest of you, how many new little things that we've had to take into place are you going to keep after? Anyone?
I think I will definitely keep some of the remote access, only because some of them they become more productive. It's amazing to see that emails go out after 8 p.m. Working late. You won't see that happen in the office. So I think remote access could be very beneficial to us to maybe keep 10-15% remote access for the people that they want to have remote access maybe a couple times a week. Definitely, and I think gloves should go on at all times.
Yes, we do have some questions here in the chat I want to jump to. We have a question here saying, what are everyone's thoughts on the changes that this quarantine and COVID-19 will cause regarding your business going forward after the restrictions have been lifted? Let's go ahead and start with you, Devin.
Similar to, I think it's a similar question, Samantha, you just brought up. I'd say there's going to be a lot that sticks, such as the DocuSign, the ability to virtually connect and sign documents, to connect with your providers virtually. I would say that, there'll probably be very specific types of appointments that will continue to be effective via DocuSign. And then there'll be others that the attorneys would prefer that the patients come into the office to actually have a physical interaction with the providers. The ability to automate reporting so that there is less of a physical handoff per se between patients and providers, or providers and attorneys. These types of things will stay. I hope that at some point in the future, we're not having to thermostat every patient walking through the door and and force people to sit in their cars and not be able to enjoy the office settings or relax and comfort their family while they're in that waiting room. So I think, the items that have just improved and forced us all to close in around and create efficiencies, I hope they stay. But then there's other factors that I think will hopefully go back to more normalcy.
Does anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, I could probably add to that a little bit. We always have to be ready for the second wave of corona, so we can really relax and go back business as usual, even when this directive is lifted. I think we have to be more vigilant to maintain business going and make sure we guarantee, or at least do whatever it takes and implement home and office policy for our people, just so exposure will be minimal. At least for a couple of years.
I have to agree that I think that this is something that has impressed upon our psyches, right? Where I think that, the gloves, like, that's going to make people feel comfortable, just visually, like walking into an office, knowing that people are taking it seriously. Even maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, I really think that we're going to see some of these vestiges stick around for a while. And then, similar to what a lot of us were saying, but certainly Whitney and Cameron, some of this is just the future, right? Like Devin, you're saying the same thing, Sitar. I mean, Harry, all of us are in agreement, right? That a lot of these things are here to stay simply because, COVID-19 has forced us all to accept and be more welcoming to some of these changes. It's, it's making attorneys be a little bit more open to some of these different ways of doing things, certainly for patients and everyone along the way. Which is a good thing in the long run, right? It's making things easier, more convenient, less time in traffic, potentially, depending on what you're trying to get done.
And thank goodness we have the technology to available. I mean, it's been hovering, and we're able to just incorporate it right in without blinking an eye. We have been as busy as we usually are, and I'm really blessed that it was easy for us to incorporate all of the technology and just seamlessly make it happen, continue on.
Samantha, this question is for you in the chat. How is Doctors on Liens operating, as well as where do you see the future of Doctors on Liens, marketing-wise, etc.?
We are business as usual. When it first hit, about 5 of our offices closed, but the rest of them stayed opened. Now everyone is opened again. In terms of marketing, I don't know. We'll see what the future holds, how much. I don't think there's going to be as much FaceTime as there was in the past. And we'll just have to get very creative and make sure. The one thing that Doctors on Liens has always done is been very creative to get our name in front of every law firm out there, to let them know we have doctors that'll work on a lien basis. In the name. We're going to be doing stuff. I'm actually going to be pairing up with Sitar. We're doing some things, and we're gonna just make it work. And we'll see. We're reaching out in different ways. Social media has been great for marketing. The doctors I created a forum when this whole thing first hit. Our doctors, I have over 300 doctors, but they didn't interact with each other. But once everything hit, we created a forum, and the forum was a lifesaver for us. All of the doctors got on and said, how are you seeing patients? What are you doing? They put on one, instead of it just being like a little text chain with like 5 doctors, it was everybody going on. This is what we're doing. We're having people wait in the parking lot, and we're sending them the documents, and they put in a protocol. So all the Doctors on Liens doctors, they all sort of have the same protocol now, and based on the forum. And then if they have any questions, they work with each other, and they've been working it out and figuring it out together, so that when the attorneys have something, it's kind of a procedure in place we're 300 strong as opposed to one random doctor doing something. So in a weird way, this kind of helped Doctors on Lean's network solidify and make our doctors stronger as a unit, which is nice. Even though they're all, let me just be very clear, everyone's independently owned and operated, and we're just an ad agency for them, but you know, they are a network of doctors, which is what when I created this 27 years ago, that was my main goal, and this just kind of pushed it along.
Great.
Well,
great.
one of my favorite things that you guys have been doing have been the social media walkthroughs. If you guys are on Instagram, you should all follow Doctors on Leans because they're doing some really cool stuff, and it's an opportunity to get inside the offices that, especially if there's attorneys joining us, you know, that's what your client is experiencing. So to be able to prepare them for that, or to have an idea of what that office looks like, I have to give you all kudos. That's very neat what you guys are doing.
That's all Riley.
Good work, Riley.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. But we're a team here at DOL. It's really here. I love this company. I do have a question in the chat from Sophia from Advocate Law for you, Devin. Is it harder to get clients in with appointments since you can't have patients in at this time? And what is the wait time to get in?
Yeah, good question. I would say we're still being able to uphold our commitment that we try and get a patient scheduled within 24 hours of receiving a new case, and we try to get that patient, make sure that patient's been seen either virtually or in the office within a week max of the time that we receive that new case. So for us, we haven't had any negative impact on meeting those expectations that we set for our customers. I guess the only change I think is there's been more fear amongst the patients, and so it takes a little extra education about what we're doing. And heck, I mean, it's safer to walk in most any of the doctors in Doctors on Lean's network than it is to walk in the supermarket. Yeah. And so everyone's taking steps to go above and beyond at this point. So yeah, I would say there has been little impact, at least with the Pledge Medical, and I'm sure most of DOL's doctors are the same.
For sure. Devin, we have one more here for you specifically as well.
Okay.
For epidural injection, did you make changes in procedure consent forms mentioning about possible impairment of the immune system?
Our consents are the same. They've always included, you know, majority of those of that commentary. The one thing that we've increased is just our messaging to patients that it's very important they do abide by the social distancing and stay at home orders post those procedures. So we really go above and beyond to make sure that the patients understand that's not just something to take lightly. You actually have to adhere to that, especially after having gone an epidural.
Great, great. We have one last question here in the Q&A. On a lighter note, what do you love most about your work during these trying times? Let's go ahead and start with you, Gabriella. If you guys all want to briefly touch on this before we wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, honestly, one of my favorite things is actually feeling like I'm getting this amazing FaceTime with my team every day. It's kind of ironic, but, you know, it's, although I miss those in-office interactions very much, the idea that I actually get to see so much of my team virtually face-to-face, and we're setting aside time to talk to everybody in that way has been really great. And the fact that we've, of course, been lucky to stay operational and business as usual, and I feel have been a great resource for our clients has been fun as well.
Cameron and Whitney, do you want to touch on that? What do you love most about your work during these trying times?
You know what, for us, it's been really exciting to see the technology that's being utilized right now. You know, I mean, everything in the legal field has been kind of done old fashioned, and it's been kind of neat now to see clients kind of train them and teach them and feeling confident about trying these new ways of doing things. And so it's been really fun for us and rewarding to see that, and finally people utilizing all these cool tools that are out there. So it's been really fun for us to kind of see probably legal world is kind of changing forever, and to be a part of that, you know?
No, it's amazing. Sitar, what about you?
For me, I really have to say it's been, you know, being proud of my staff. You know, my staff is in first line of defense at all times, and their passion, their care, their commitment to their jobs, of showing up and doing what they have to do every day. That's been the best part of my job.
Wow.
So I'm truly proud of my team at this point.
Amazing. Kelly, what do you love most?
Well, I just want to say that I feel super blessed because when this first happened, I promised everybody, don't worry. And somebody said, I'm not, you're so scrappy. And we have, and we have totally made this thing happen. Like I said, totally seamless. Just like the twins, I knew you guys would be perfect for today because I knew what you were doing to help your clients. We're doing the exact same thing. So I'm just real proud that we're going to get through this. And kudos to everybody else that is making it happen and not giving up and just going with the punches.
Love it. Harry, what about you? What are you loving most about your work during this time?
I have to concur with most. Basically, it's been challenging, technology and staff. We appreciate our staff even more now than ever before for showing that passion to get out there and show our clients that, business as usual, no worries. And with regards to technology, absolutely. Technology is out there to be utilized. And I'm sure there's technologies out there that even could be more utilized that we're not aware of. So I like the challenge.
Yes. And what about you?
Yeah, same as everyone else. Obviously, the technology integration creates efficiencies. The team initiative, it really has highlighted who is here to, to roll their sleeves up, get dirty, and work their butt off. And there's, I think that 80% of our team has just come through like, they all deserve medals of honor over here. But I'd say the number one thing for me personally, I don't get to interact as much with industry experts like the 8 to 10 people sitting here on this panel. And so to be able to, for this industry has really come together, collaborated, united to figure out a better way to do what we do. Heck, I've learned more, for the 20 minutes before this kicked off, just sitting here listening to the small talk, I learned more about everyone on this webinar than I've known in the past 3 years. Wow. Hell, Sitar, if you want to know anything, look behind me. He's in the encyclopedia over there. The guy reads 100 books a month over there. So, I just really love the collaboration from all of these industry experts, and that's been a blessing.
Amazing. And Samantha, I have to know, what do you love most about your job during this time?
I'm going to say something a little silly. I'm more efficient now because I don't have to get dressed in the morning. Unless I so I always get up early and I always work early. But now it's taken off, a good amount of time. The drive time, I'm able to just get on the phone with everyone. I'm able to see my doctors. My doctors are amazing. Let me just say, I know they're my doctors, so I'm going to say they're amazing, but they are so amazing how everyone's band together. I've been so proud of them. My staff, Riley, you, everyone, my staff is amazing. Like they have been so great. Everyone's just got on the phone. What can we do? How can we, they're on, they're calling. We use this time to update our website, and we fixed, little things, and we're trying to reach out to all the doctors, and it's been really terrific. But not so great. I have teenagers. I have 3 teenagers stuck at home. I have 17-year-old twins and a 14-year-old. So it's been great.
Yes.
But it's challenging. I know a lot of you have little ones at home, which I'm sure is worse. Not worse, but more challenging.
Yeah.
But the problem with teenagers is, like, throughout this webinar, they've been texting me and they can electronically bug me. Like, you can put your kids in a room and close the door and you have a little safety. There's no privacy. They will electronically stalk me. Other than that, I'm loving how everything now, if this would have happened 10 years ago, I think we all would have been dead in the water. I think technology has been so great, and look at us. We're all functioning. Everyone's business is, maybe down a little bit because for my doctors, there aren't as many people driving, and that's just a fact. But the technology has been amazing, and we've been able to see patients in telemedicine and it's pretty great. I'm hoping that fall we will not be where we are again, but more than likely we will be, and we're prepared. We're ready for it. So that's my takeaway from
Hey,
it.
Samantha, based on your first comment, please tell me you have pajamas on the bottom.
I do not, and I'll tell you why. I do not, because did you see Will Reeves on Good Morning America? And he did that, and then they showed his leg. So I use that as a cautionary tale. My first 2 Zoom meetings, I did do something like that, and as soon as that happened to him, I was like, I am the one that would happen to. So I make sure from head to toe I have clothing on.
What a great way to wrap this up. Well, I want to thank, let me just throw this up here. I want to thank all of our speakers for taking the time to talk to us today. We have everyone's contact information, and we can send you answers to any questions received by the chat directly. Let me also remind you again that most of our offices are open and seeing patients and practicing telemedicine.
All are open. Doctors only, all of them are open now.
Yes. In addition, our pharmacy, Brightside Specialty Pharmacy, is open and doing deliveries statewide, so keep that in mind. And also, as Gabriella mentioned earlier, follow us on Instagram as well as Facebook for our walkthrough Wednesdays that we do on Wednesdays with our doctors, and we give you an inside look at their office and their staff and how they're handling their office at this time. So I want to thank you all again for joining, and I hope you have a wonderful week. And thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Sure.